Oh,
You just start.
do we have a quorum? Yeah, we have four. Where is it? And then Diane's online, right? Anybody else online?
Mary, these are still in the order that you gave them to me, so I don't know where they fit in with your pile.
Just
Okay.
on there.
LJ is gonna be a couple minutes late, or is she not?
Yeah, should we just?
Okay.
She was gonna try to be here at 3:30, and she say in my last.
That'll work. Just tell them we forgot to read the cover. It can just be, we just have gratitude, it never goes outside.
Yes.
All year long.
There we go.
Okay, is everybody ready to begin?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being here. This is the Solid Waste Special Service District meeting Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. My name is Colin Topper. I'm the chair, and I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could just go around and introduce ourselves. Ashley, you wanna start out?
Ashley Wareham, I'm now the treasurer.
All right. Thanks for doing it.
Yes, thank you.
Lily Houghton, administrative manager.
Mary McGann, member of the board, county commissioner.
Jessica Thacker, district clerk.
AJ Throgmorton, board member.
Who do we have?
Diane Ackerman, board member.
Nick Lundberg, accounting support.
Chris Scoville, district manager.
Oh, man, Chris.
I couldn't even
I-
feverish.
I'm guessing this is gonna be a short report from Chris later on in the meeting, yeah. The shortest ever. Okay, do we have any citizens to be heard? Nothing. Okay, nobody in the room. Okay, then we're on to the. LJ, you wanna introduce yourself?
I'm LJ Blackburn. I am the vice chair.
Excellent. Okay, so we are on to the approval of minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look
Yes.
over the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for, February.
The only thing, and I don't know how much any of this matters, but in just the first portion, the attendance, Colin Topper, Moab City Council representative, and then went down, Mary McGann was still the treasurer. But should it say, like there's a slash, I think it was meant to say chair slash, and then Mary's, does that matter? Our positions? I don't
I
know.
think her still say treasurer at that minute.
Yeah, but I guess she
I was
maybe
there.
was,
Weren't we voted in?
Fine.
Yeah,
but so,
Collins doesn't say chair, I guess.
yeah, and so Mary's, like, there's the discrepancy is mine lists my city council representation, but Mary's does not list her commission represented, and then, so for whatever that's worth, but it maybe in the
it probably
motion, we
should be
could, yeah.
consistent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can fix that.
So that would be,
Either put both our, that we're appointed and our positions, or just one group.
Yeah.
Just so it's similar.
thanks, Jessica.
Mhm.
That would be my only. So we need to amend, Mary, you wanna amend your motion
I will
to,
amend my motion for the correction of stating that Colin Topper is chair.
thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion from Mary, a second from Ashley. Show of hands, all in favor? Any opposed? No. Okay, moving on to the treasurer financial report.
All right, there are a few errors, in this document that, were brought up. The first one is one time it was up to January when these expenses that we'll be discussing all happened in February. And the second would be in the expenditure detail. I was cutting and pasting and did not double check. And so one line was missing, but I'll talk about that more. I just wanted to start off with that. So February expenses were higher than in January, and we made one payment of $175,000 to the PTIF fund. Payroll expenses came to $261,480. The total that was just wages for payroll was $141,177.83. So that's on par with January. If you were looking at the profit and loss though, there was a journal entry dated 1/1/25 that reduced the January payroll expenses. And that's just, those were wages that were, earned in 2024. So that, we don't do that every month of the year. It was just done at the end of the year for that. Temporary labor expenses, which again are operations expenses, but I consider them here, were just under $29,000. So this was about $3,500 more than in January. And let's see. So with that, it would bring payroll expenses up to about $170,000. Overtime was up this month. We had about $11,000 in overtime. And also both February and March medical insurance premiums were paid in February. There was an error on the invoice, so I didn't pay it in January. And then the operational account expenses that were paid in February, again, it says January on here, were $230,511.14. Fuel expenses were slightly up. They were about $18,000. Total repair and maintenance, which again, this is the total from the profit and loss, which includes all repairs and maintenance, but it was about $29,000. Insurance expenses were $5,700. Temporary labor were just under $29,000. Rentals was high at just under $40,000, but this did include a $10,000 deposit as well as the 2 rental trucks. And we also had the large expense for the Bull Mag warranty, which you wouldn't see on the profit and loss statement since that's going to be depreciated. Nick can talk more about this, but it brought our total expenditures to $691,772.80.
I do have a question about the overtime, and maybe Chris can answer that. Is this due to the high turnover in labor and people, we've lost some people, so having to cover the extra shifts that we've lost from, or is it just due to increase in business and activity?
It has to do with the availability of the people that can do the job. So we only have certain people with certain skills here. So yeah, it was as a direct result of losing a couple people. We've had to utilize some people in overtime.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So an anomaly, not a trend. Is that a way to look at that as we go into the hiring season?
Well, not necessarily, and I'll address that during my board report.
Okay.
I think as we start to add more weekend service, we'll be adding Sunday route service in April. That overtime is consistent, especially for the route drivers. And so I don't think we're going to see that number go down, but I think it's staying around there. Hopefully it will go down for the operators.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions?
I'll make a motion to pay February expenditures or approve February expenditures 2025 in the amount of $691,772.80.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Ashley, second from LJ. Show of hands, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, Lily, thank you. Moving on to the reports from board and staff. Chris.
So I actually have a number of items. It's been a busy month. I'm going to try to read this more like a grocery list just to try to get through it, and we can address a lot of these things, I think, in more depth at the workshop next month. Out of Klondike landfill, we have our new buildings in place. If you remember, we purchased that with the extra money that we received from the county last year. We got that installed. We have solar panels placed on there, and we also have solar power on our fuel cells out there. We were pretty close to having our cell complete, which is going to be huge because I've so one of the things, and this addresses the overtime. So here, I think April 4th is their last day. We're going to be losing our lead operator and the facility supervisor, which is going to drastically change how I'm going to have to operate some different facilities. So I had the lead operator, and I was okay with getting new people because there was somebody there to train them and somebody to keep an eye on them. With our main operator leaving, I don't feel comfortable putting new guys out into the field. So there might even be a reduction in some of the temporary employees, just because I don't feel good about having people that don't know what they're doing out in isolation with heavy equipment going on. So that'll probably lead to more overtime with the people that we have left to be able to handle these different facilities. And I'll leave some of this Jessica may be able to go into, but moving on to Moab, looks like we still may be able to get our food composting grant. We're getting prepped for our mulch grind. I was recently at, it was kind of a vendor event, and I spoke to somebody that actually rents screens and grinders, so that may give us another option in the future. Moving on to Recycle Center, we tore down the handicap ramp. Anyone that knows what that was a hazard. I'm glad to see that gone. We have another one on its way. We're just negotiating some terms. We'll be in the process of tearing down the insulation in the CRC building. At the end of March, we'll be putting in some spray insulation. We're also with the acquisition and the lease next door. I'm able to start moving containers. We're starting to clear up the back of the recycle center with the containers. Basically going to do yard cleanup and prep for the Recycle Coalition conference that will be starting May 2nd. I believe Jessica sent out invites. Any board member that would like to go, the district will cover the cost of the ticket. I think we'll be extending that invitation to Sarah Melenkoff and Kim from Grand Junction Recycling as well. The transfer station, so the new building next door, we just finished up some work that was required before we were able to occupy it. So I now have approval to be able to occupy it. It's going to take a while to get things moved over there. I mean, with the season just starting, there's a lot of work to be done over there. It's basically going to be a season-long reorganization. I have a lot of work to do as it relates to like regulations, county codes, on and on. That's kind of was the whole point of getting the 3-year lease, because the fun for me just begins in trying to see whether if this thing's going to be feasible or not. So if you notice, as you guys were pulling up, we have the metal piles getting worked on right now. And just running some numbers, we moved over 1 million pounds of metal through the recycle center last year. I think that's a worthwhile thing to mention. I want to move on to like our assets real quick. Sorry if I'm going real quick. I just wanted to kind of get there's lots of things that are that's happened over this last month, and I want the board to know. And like I said, we can kind of go into more detail as we move into the workshop. So I have a list of assets here that I'm considering what to do with in the future. Out at the Klondike landfill, we have our compactor, which you guys know we just entered into a new warranty. We did that so that it would be under warranty as we move to try to either trade it in or sell it. I'm dealing with various entities and trying to get a price of what it's worth. We have our main loader out there, which is a 980 front loader, aggregate loader. It's went off warranty not too long ago. We have looked into putting an auto greaser on there. I will also be considering to maybe turn that in for a new one with an auto greaser. Obviously, Nick, I'll be getting with you on a lot of these things that I'm going over to make sure they're viable and they'll fit into the budget. Up at Moab, our main asset is our D8. I mean, I think with that one, even though we've had troubles with it recently, we're just going to run that until that facility closes. And the other piece of machinery we use up there is just a rental loader. The equipment that we use in CRC is really just too old to talk about. We just do our best to try to keep it running. At the transfer station here, we have a 962 with, we had every intent to sell it. We were going to wait until this new year to try to sell it, so those funds would hit this budget. But I think with the expansion to the property next door, I'm going to be using it to move some fill in there to expand our traffic footprint. So we'll be using that for just a little bit before we sell it. Our link belt is, it's going to need to be replaced here fairly soon. Now this is a bigger topic that I just want to touch on. So I've met with Colin, and he's met with our fabricator welder. We've brought this up in board meetings before. So right now we run two types of roll-off systems. One's a proprietary system, and we have the only containers and trucks in the world that run this system. The other one is a standardized system. That if we, like last year, if we had troubles, that we could rent trucks, we can get backups. In this business, without a backup, things can get really scary. So at some point in the future, we're still working out the details, is we need to change that proprietary system into a standardized system. Just to kind of give you a brief number on that, if we just changed everything and we did all the containers, the price is roughly about $440,000. So you throw in logistics and time invested, you're easily over $500,000 to change over this system. The rentals are going well. We've had a couple minor issues, but they are super motivated to try to get them rectified, and it's worked out pretty well so far. I guess the only downside with the rentals obviously is the cost. They're, you know, at $8,000, $8,900 a piece, we're looking $17,000, $18,000 a month. So when I had first brought this up as a solution to our trucks, this was a stopgap measure just so we could give some relief to our mechanics and to our drivers, because we're losing time. It's probably an incalculable amount of time and money that we lose when we have trucks break down. We have to double up routes. We're trying to run people all around. So I had every intent in trying to find some other solution rather than the rentals. The rentals were just to get us through the season. I came across a couple of different, opportunities in trying to purchase trucks. And just for example, I have one, I think it comes in at basically $3,000 a month for a 7-year for a brand new, exactly the same trucks. So, I mean, if you wanted to do the math on that, we can get a lot of trucks for $16,000 to $18,000 a month doing those financing. That's financings, or that particular financing was available to municipalities only. And there were some other ways they can structure those terms that would be advantageous to the district. And once again, we can kind of go into detail of those at another time. But that was a pretty exciting thing to kind of stumble across, because that would give us a solution to our truck problems. The AMCS issue, I had every intent this week to try to reach out, at least to send an email to AJ, Diane, and LJ. I've been under the weather. I have not been able to gather that, but just kind of as a brief, kind of to bring you up to date. I think on basically the IT end of things, they're really stepping up. I know, and maybe Nick, you can address this. I mean, they've been really the people they've been giving us have been able to do what they've said that they have in the past, and things are getting done. So that's a positive. To me, the big sticking point right now is trying to figure out the past finances. I mean, unfortunately, and I don't know if the board is aware, we have not given them any payments in the year 2024. I don't, if I was in charge in the past, I wouldn't have done this. I don't think this is a good way to do business. If you don't like who you're working for, the solution is not going a year and not giving them any money. I mean, this puts us in a hard place, and basically it's going to get into a lot of back and forth that's happened, you know, years ago. We do have our timeline, and I think we have a lot of we have a lot of evidence that supports our case being just. It's just whether we want to spend the time doing that. Right now, basically, what I've agreed to do is pay our past balance of $76,000, 76 and some change. That relates to the hours that they above and beyond the annual subscription. And maybe you can jump in here, Lily, and help me explain this a little bit better.
Oh, do you want me to right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I mean, we have not paid them in 2024, but they did not invoice us in 2024. Looking in QuickBooks, the last invoice we received for project management came August 30th, 2023. We did not receive another invoice for project management hours until I want to say it was end of July 2024 to August 30th of that year. And that invoice was only covering the months of October, November, and December of 2023. So it just blew my mind that they were trying to recoup this $76,000 8 months later. It wasn't even for the current fiscal year, but you know, it takes two, you know, and we can talk about that, but I feel like, as Chris was saying, I mean, I was new, but management at the time, the previous executive director was not also asking for these invoices. So, you know, it kind of just brought us to this now. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, sorry, I just needed a break with my voice too for a second here. Yeah, so I've agreed to pay this $76,000. There's another invoice out there for $46,000 that will go for the year September 24 to September 25. That one I am not going to pay because to me there's a credit due from the September 23 to 24 that we were not in AMCS, and I don't feel we should be paying an annual subscription when we had no access to the software. So I'm trying to just get that invoice completely scratched, and that we just start with the new agreement. And the new agreement, they should be getting this over here within the next week or two and from what they're saying, and I know we haven't seen the agreement, but what they're stating is they'll give us all the new advanced stuff, give it to us about half price if we'll agree to the 5 years, and part of that agreement that this will be like a capped price where there won't be any other hours added to the subscription. Let's see, I attended the library this last Saturday with Kim and Sarah about recycling and plastics. Very informative. I think doing things and being involved with more programs like this would definitely help the district and help the district in its education outreach over recycling. Just one last thing, Nick, I don't know if you would have time to be able to come out to this workshop that we were doing in April 10th, I believe, but I would really appreciate if you could come out, because I want to go over some of the things that I've listed here and just kind of sit down and make sure that I'm still square with what the budget is and some of the changes that I want to do in the coming year.
Yeah, I'll make plans for that.
Excellent, thank you. And that's all I have.
So, Chris, 2 points of clarification. Sorry to make you talk more. but so with AMCS, so, you're saying that we've now, so you've reported before that, uh, anything sort of supplemental to just the very basic, billing that we're getting through them, that was originally planned. We've seen all of that demonstrated now. So they're, is that what you were saying? So, you've talked to us in the past how we, we're getting the basic service out of them, but all of these original promises of what we could see from this software, we've now seen demonstrated in our
Not
systems.
necessarily. I mean, at some point, and I briefly was able to talk to LJ about this. I mean, at some point we either have to, and I mean, I still have all the documentation trying to go through with the procurement thing. I guess, let me not mislead you. I'm just trying to give a little bit of a positive spin on this whole thing. But at some point we just have to accept the fact that that original pitch isn't going to work, and whether we want to use the software as they're selling it to us now. And I think the people that they have working with us now have proven that this software, if we can get it across the finish line, minus the few discrepancies that were from the original sales, that it would still be worthwhile to pursue.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And then the only other thing, you said 1 million pounds of metal, have gone through the recycling center. Do you mean the metal pile at the transfer station?
Yes, the metal
Okay.
pile out here. If you look out there, they're out there working right now. So that's added to this year.
That's incredible. Yeah.
It is. I have a couple questions for Chris. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, yep.
I really like hearing about the possibility of purchasing the garbage trucks. And you mentioned that you were on to a couple of opportunities. Every time we've ever been told that there are opportunities for big equipment, it almost seems like as if you have to kind of jump on it and not sit on it. So is this something that we don't have to jump on? We can sit on it and still be promised that we could get these deals and stuff?
Yes, this was from the finance side of things. We had actually had, and on March 27th, we're going to do what they call a wet demo. They're going to bring a garbage truck out and let us use it. But so what we had is we had somebody, it was a curb tender representative and their local dealer were out just giving us a demo of their new equipment. He had ended up turning me on to this finance company. So like from the finance side, that should always be there. I mean, obviously it goes up and down with interest rates and stuff, but it's just the municipal deal that they're offering us.
Like a government deal, some places will offer a government price instead of.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
this one's actually specifically Sourcewell, which we've used in the past to purchase our BOMAG. I think that BOMAG came in to be about 35% discount.
And how long are we committed to our rental trucks?
We're not really. They asked me to try to keep them 6 months, and I think we're still going to do this because there's still a lead time. Like just because, and thanks for pointing that out, Diane. This was just on the financing side of things. If this all plays out, and it has to go through all the tests to make sure everything's valid and these numbers are real and there isn't some little hidden something in there, then we would go to the equipment side and say go, and where they said about 6 to 8 months is what our lead time is on a new truck. Go ahead.
For that truck that's coming out on the 27th, do you know what chassis and body it is?
Yeah, it's actually, unfortunately, it's the only one they have. It's an under CDL, but it's a new quantum design, and it actually doesn't have the teardrop back, which would be beneficial in going into some of these dips and stuff that we have in town. But it was more to kind of test out the quality. I'm not personally familiar with curb tender. I've done some research. And the research comes back as they are pretty good quality, but not quite there yet.
Okay, thanks.
I've got a question. You ran through all your heavy equipment and it sounds like, am I hearing you correctly? Like we need to replace them within the next so many years, or do we need to replace this stuff this year?
No, I mean, fortunately, it's especially on the equipment side, I try to push towards new and under warranty. We've just had a couple of them kind of go out of warranty, and the district's never really had a replacement schedule. Every year I think we try and we get a little bit closer, but I mean, when I first started working here, we would get a piece of equipment and everyone's like, yay, that's it. Now we have that piece of equipment. And in reality, that's not how it works. You know, you get a piece of equipment and that's just the beginning. And you should be paying yourself for repair and maintenance on that equipment, but you should also be paying yourself to replace that equipment so that when you reach end of life, you have the funds to be able to get a new piece of equipment. So everything I've kind of listed is things that we don't necessarily have to hit this year, but we just need to be aware of them. And I will be looking at opportunities if it doesn't, you know, financially put a heavy burden on the district. Yeah, I absolutely would switch them whenever it makes sense.
Thank you.
Hey, any other questions for Chris?
Are they the automated side loaders from Curb Tender? Is that what we're talking about?
No, unfortunately, in the past, they've actually tried. They've even brought demos in. For automated side loaders to work, you have to have a little bit of community buy-in, and you also would have to have a backup. If we changed our routes to work with side loads, we'd have to have a backup, which is a couple of trucks. And I'm not saying that I'm against it. It's just we have thought about it. And the other thing that happens here is we have polycart dumpster. So we would have to be kind of overlaying routes. So I definitely see the advantages of doing the automated side loads. I mean, you have one person that can do it versus two people in that. You know, in the reality that we live in now where CDL drivers are worth their weight in gold, you know, that's definitely something to always consider. I just don't think we're quite there yet as, you know, in our community.
Yeah, and when I forget to pull mine out far enough, they'd have to get out and help me out anyways, so could be defeating.
Yeah, and that's kind of the community buy-in. I mean, I know at some point the answer to that is, well, you don't pick them up a couple times and then they'll learn to put it out.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that we're just in a position right now of just trying to make sure that we do the best job that we can and be able to provide the customer services the community deserves.
We have another record that we,
Sounds good.
It was just the
Yeah.
note taker.
Yeah,
Oh, was
we
it?
use the
Oh.
note taker. Yeah.
Anything else for Chris? Okay, thank you, Chris. Lily.
I just want to start off, the board workshop is April 10th. I kind of had the
Okay.
dates, I was like, wait,
Okay.
Okay, I go back. I went back and changed it again. It's okay.
how much back and forth we've had about this, so my
Yeah.
apologies.
It's the 10th.
Sure, I got that
Yes,
right.
Thursday the 10th. And I sent you an email for that too, Nick. So I've been working with Nick, just to clean up the books, and I do really want to thank the customer service representatives in Savannah. It's, becoming routine now that I can start reconciling at the beginning of the month, which was not the case, I think, a long time.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's very,
What time?
very great. What
Yeah,
time is
good.
the workshop? I'm not sure what time.
I just put all day.
Yeah, okay. So as Chris was saying with, AMCS, I do feel like we're making traction. We've been working with this new woman, Erin, who's very, professional, very precise, like really dialed in with her reports, and she's really helped me, just find streamlined ways to look at, you know, all the transactions that come in. Also have forethought where we can see full reports to see when credit cards are expiring and people an email of like, hey, you're auto pay. I was doing that today. How cool, is that? Let's see, Savannah has been also writing, just flowcharts, and it's called Scribe, but it's kind of these like point by point where to click on things for the CSRs to follow. You know, and I feel like that's really helping. Just, we have a lot of, the CSRs are still relatively new, and just having that baseline and a document to refer to, because we don't always, you know, you're not always the one that gets the phone when you get like a how to close a roll-off account, and I've been using it. So I think that's been really wonderful.
You're using Scribe to write the processes, or AMCS are doing that?
Savannah and we are in-house.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So if you aren't familiar with Scribe, it's great technology. Let's see, we do still have accounts that are past due. I ordered door hangers that we can put on the carts. We obviously had a long grace period with switching to this software and with the city billing, and so I'm hoping those will catch people's attention and just remind people to pay for their garbage service. Chris has brought up that, you know, if we pull a cart in the county, we oftentimes get a call that day of where's my trash can, and then we have to redeliver it. So it's a lot of trying to find ways to get people to pay without having to physically remove their trash. So I'm hopeful that that will work. The employee handbook has been being worked on. It's just a really vast project, and if I only have like a half hour, it's hard to dive into it. So I had wanted to get that to the board at this meeting. I'm very hopeful to have it in April. It's just a big project. The cash flow has been steady. We've been making great payments to the PTIF fund. We do have some larger payments coming up I was going to pay cash for. So in April, we'll be paying 60 grand for, which one is one of the pieces of equipment. It's the D7, I think. And then in May, we'll have two payments. That'll be about 42,000. One is just under 30,000 for the small wheel loader. And then the other one is just over 12 for the motor grader. I assume that one hasn't been invoiced yet, but I need to check to make sure the motor graders still do, but just anticipating those coming out. On kind of a fun side, I've been trying to look at ways to get staff engagement. At the last safety meeting last month, we got bagels and cream cheese. So for $30, I thought it was really nice for staff.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I've been brainstorming with Jill, who's our HR partner, and she had some great ideas, like, you know, maybe not once a week, but once a pay period, maybe giving a coupon for like a slushie or something, just when it's hot out for the drivers and for people that are working outside.
We've mentioned it for
I was thinking
a couple years, but maybe if we start now, because I know the fire department has a barbecue, a picnic, and then after closing, they keep swimming pool open for an hour for just the employees. I would really like that. The kids just adore it.
They've done that for oodles of years. When I was a child and my dad was on the fire department, they did that.
Yeah.
We can make that happen, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and it's just always gone under the radar. And, you know, it's a little work for us, and I think the great thing is if we're the ones doing the barbecuing.
Yeah.
And then telling people thank you, and they don't even have to do anything. We could have, you know, the fire department's done it, where some years they have potluck and people bring a potluck salad, or we just provide everything. We can decide all of that as we get closer. We could talk to Geezers and see if they would donate, you know, or some of the hamburgers we could. Yeah, I'll talk to Jim because he helps with and you got it's your dad, right? Or your stepfather?
My dad's on there.
Yeah, so Charlie and Jim, we should be able to find out how,
Get some
but they
tips.
have more money than we do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Everybody does.
Make that work. And thank you, Lily, for with the bagels and cream cheese, for starting to think like this.
I think, I think we all just want this to be a great place to work. I mean, the need for garbage collection is not going anywhere. I think when I took this job, my friend said, oh, it's a recession-proof industry. And I think it is, but just having this be a job people want in Moab. I mean, yes, you work with trash, but I'll take care of you. Kind of more on the HR topic, Jill, our HR partner, will be coming down to Moab at the end of April to hold 2 trainings for us in person, one for all staff and then one for the managers on employment law. So if the board is interested. in
Oh, yeah,
attending,
let
I
us know
can-
when in April.
It's the 24th and 25th, I
Oh.
believe, and I can send that out to you.
I will be here. I'm gonna be gone from April 20th through May.
Good for you.
I'm telling you,
That's all I
it's
have.
on the plans for a year, so
Any questions for Lily?
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lily.
And when you think of something, like, I think I brought that swag.
Yes, and I put that out last year and it was gone very quickly.
Yeah, so I'll see if, I'll go in and see if I can get some more swag. Cause it's, some people don't care for it, but like a nice new bath or
Yep.
something can sometimes really pick people. Oh, wow.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, Jessica, you got.
So as Chris mentioned briefly earlier, there actually is an update. It seems that our grant for composting may have been unpaused. They requested a little bit further documentation, so that was sent off. They said we're currently undergoing an environmental review, and if there's no hitches with that, it looks like we're clear to move ahead. I actually just got an invitation today for them bringing back the webinar that was originally canceled at the beginning of January. So all intents and purposes, it looks like the compost grant is moving forward. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. The webinar, I believe, is on April 1st or 2nd. I can't recall, but I'll report on that at the next board meeting. Again, as Chris mentioned, the RCU conference is on May 2nd. I've sent that invitation out to everybody. I've gotten one response back. So you guys can get back to me on that because there is a discount period and we're trying to get in before that discount period. We actually will have Mary as one of them. No,
Yeah,
oh,
I
you
didn't
can't?
realize, I think I looked at, it's May 2nd, I won't be back from.
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and let them know. So there's that. And then, on the administrative side, I have been working on the development of the operations plan, kind of like an overarching, document that states, what we are, what we do, our current status, and what we're looking in terms of short-term and long-term visions. So this is basically just like an overarching document of what the district is as a whole, and can be utilized or as a sort of like press kit version. So if we need to go to the county for our TRT requested funding, we already have this packet sort of built. So we're not trying to give you the history of the district, what we do, kind of remind you of our importance. It's all kind of already summed up. And then that kind of also repivoted to our website redesign and development. If you guys aren't familiar with our current site, it's a little clunky. It's not very SEO friendly. And it reads very weird between mobile and desktop. So I've been trying to go through and redefine, redesign, and streamline our website to kind of move into the 21st century. But that takes time. There's a lot of putting and whatnot involved. And, you can design it on, desktop, but when you look at it on mobile, it looks totally different, wild. So I have to essentially create 3 different websites for each web page, and we already have, I want to say 32 individual web pages. So it's all about redirecting and making sure everything is, correct across the board and whatnot. So that's taking a lot of time. And yeah, all that.
It's really exciting about the grant.
Here's hoping.
Okay,
See.
what questions do we have for Jessica? Nope. Okay, thank you. Nick.
Yes, want to go over a couple of things. I didn't get the 2024 preliminary financials into this board packet, but I'll coordinate with Lily to send that out to the board so you can review that between now and the next board meeting. There are still a couple adjustments I do need to do, but the majority of the data is in there, and it is turned out to be a fantastic year for the district. So kudos the staff and the management at the district. Just to give you a quick highlight, again, I'll get this sent out to you so you can review, but third-party revenues are 6 million with a net income of 1.1 million. There were some one-time or one-off things that contributed to that 1.1 net income, such as the TRT tax revenue was 100K more than we had budgeted. It was budgeted at 400,000, it came in 500,000. There were some insurance proceeds of about 200,000 that contributed to the bottom line. Some gain and loss and sale, or mostly the sale of that property out in Thompson Springs. It was another 100,000 or so. And so the district did very well. And I think we're seeing the trend continuing starting in here in 2025. Lily did include the financials, the preliminary financials for January and February in the packet. So what those are missing is just the intercompany revenue expenses, but those don't affect the bottom line. Also, what is missing in there is some third-party transfer station revenue. So the revenue numbers will be adjusted for January and February to include the transfer station revenue. That's one of the pieces that I'm still working on for 2024 is the transfer station revenue. And once I get that buttoned up, it'll actually improve over the numbers I just gave you. The 1.1 million in net income will actually probably be a little bit higher than that. So the district did very well for 2024 with despite the AMCS implementation. It's looking fairly well, and I'll touch on the AMCS, what I'm seeing on that. What I'm seeing in terms of revenue or information that we can get out of that system of revenue, it's pretty fantastic, actually. If using Excel pivot tables, you're able to drill down into revenue categories and see exactly the transactions that happened ad hoc wise. You can go into any revenue category and see exactly what customers and transactions made up that amount. That's really useful for the looking at the roll-off revenue, because you can see your deliveries, your hauls by container size. So it's a pretty, from a revenue standpoint, the AMC system seems to be pretty fantastic. The overall product, I'd like to see feedback on how the routing side of it go, the operational side, how that is working out. And again, we're looking at we're getting implemented in the system, so there's still a long ways to go in terms of processes and whatnot. But what I'm seeing is some really pretty useful information coming out of that we can utilize. Along those lines, as we have these board meetings, we'll be looking at the P&L, I think, on a regular going forward basis. I'd like to see us at each board meeting at least review through the previous month P&Ls, and so we can see that in relation to budget. The budget is in QuickBooks, so it's a matter of pulling a report that shows you actuals and the budget number next to it, so we can see the variances in real time. Let's see. The bond payment is coming up in May. They'll pull the funds for that. It's about 824,000, and we're in a good position for that. So we've been putting the money away in the PTIF fund. So we're well prepared for that bond payment, because that for purposes of the board, each year we do a principal and interest payment in May, and then in November we do an interest only payment. So that goes on each year. So that the big chunk of money going out for the bond payment is in May of each year, and for this one coming up, it's about 824,000. Let's see, 2024. Yeah, so just in terms of the financials, they're always pretty much going to be in a preliminary mode. There will be adjustments need to be done or will be done. Once the audit is done each year, then those are the final numbers for that prior year. The audit is scheduled for June that first week of June. So I will be out there assisting the auditors in the district with that. But I think we'll have some pretty solid numbers to look at for the April board meeting relating to finalizing the 2024 actual numbers. So are there any questions for me in terms of some of the financials?
I have, just one question. I was looking at the mineral lease, revenue. I'm not seeing any for February yet, and I remembered that one was like a monthly payment and another was a quarterly, but I couldn't remember which one was which. Is that still in effect?
Yeah, that's-
And it's just
yeah,
not
that's-
that in there. Okay.
Right, that's one of the numbers that I didn't see it on the monthly bank statement we get from the PTI or the PL, the mineral lease. So once that number comes in, it does lag a little bit, but we accrue it back to the month it relates. And so, yeah, I'm still waiting for that number.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for Nick? Nick, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, board reports. Ashley. Anything?
Mary and I went and got the bank information taken care of now that I'm the treasurer. And there were some old board members that were on the bank accounts. We cleaned those up. And then we realized that Colin and Diane were not on one of the accounts. And it sounds like Colin, you took care of it. Diane, you need to go in and
I've already done
sign.
it. I've already done it.
Oh, you did take care of it? Cause she left me a voicemail last week saying that, okay, so you did do it. Okay, good. Awesome. Other than that, that's all I have. I'm really happy that those are cleaned up. I like stuff tidy, so
Yeah.
this is good.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
I have a question. Did you go to Zion's at all, or was it only Mountain America?
Only Mountain America. What's at Zion's now still?
We still have, two bank accounts there. I think maybe it's only one. It's just a checking account at Zion's.
Do we, I have stopped by and see if
we
I
were
have to
gonna-
do it in person or if I can just.
I can see if we can do DocuSign. We were going to kind of sunset that account, but then we thought it might be good to keep it open for restricted funds for grants. That's like another isolation measure.
Oh,
So,
that would be a very good way to keep it separate.
but that account,
So, yeah, well, if you
tomorrow
talk to them, let me know if the two of us need to go down together, or if it's something like we could just easily swing in and do it.
none of the new board members have been added as signers to that account though, since I've been on, just.
Well, I
because
don't
it was
think we've
again-
ever had it. Did we ever have insiders on it?
Because it was the plan to always kind of sunset that one once we got the credit cards
That's
over to
right,
Mountain
that's why we
America.
kind of
So-
ignored it for a while.
That
So we
used to
don't
be
hardly
the
ever use it.
operations account, and Mountain America was only the payroll account.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really oftentimes didn't have to have signers at Mountain America because it was all automated. So then we switched because we wanted to have them all in one bank,
And they offered better services, you know.
or at least it was decided at one point.
Okay.
I will look into that and be in touch, but I'm sure it's.
I-
Also,
We don't deal with it very often. I think
And
only
there used to be did we ever get that? Yeah, we got a safe deposit.
we got that out. That's how we found out we had that land.
Yeah.
Kept praying, oh, please be money, please be money. Then what was it? Old CDs?
Mhm.
Those
Oh,
little.
I still have them in the fireproof safe. Floppy disk.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
They were like QuickBooks backups, you could probably just.
I think I should throw them away.
And then they had this deed for this land we owned. And at first we thought it was some land we knew about, then it ended up you know, cause that safety deposit box hadn't been open for how many years?
Oh, gosh. Wow. I was
Way before, I
Yeah.
don't even know if Debbie ever opened it.
So,
So anyway, we had to go through this, we couldn't find the key.
Okay.
We had- This person had to come from Salt Lake and we had to sign all these papers and I had to go sit there while they drilled into it. And I'm saying, oh, no, there's money. And then we were so disappointed and then that ended up getting us how much money when
Yeah,
we
it
sold
turned
that
into
land.
money, yep.
Yeah, so it did turn into money, but it was a hysterical process. You know, it was, yeah. And the guy that came down from Scranton, Salt Lake to do it, he just does not a happy camper. He just felt like we'd really put him out.
So Lily, you'll get a hold of us about this INC and then you and I will.
Yeah, we'll
figure it out.
work on it.
And there's one where we'll have to contact the IRS.
Oh,
that you'll
boy.
give me.
You'll wait on hold for them.
I will.
Thank you. Just call me and I'll pop over whenever.
I will wait on
Just make
hold.
sure I'm in hold or I'm in zone, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Right. LJ, what do you got?
I don't have anything this time.
Mary?
I don't think I have anything in relationship to solid waste.
Okay.
Lots going on, but nothing.
Diane?
Yeah, I just wanted to report that to Jessica that I did take that board test that we were required to take. As in the years past, the test is the easy part for me. I cannot get the certificate and send it to Jessica, so I'm still working on that.
For your
Um,
open in public meetings?
Did you get,
Is that-
did you get the certificate?
I think I did, but I don't know how to relay it. So
Did you take a screenshot?
I don't know. I'll work on it, but I did do it. It's an easy test. Everybody should do it and get it over with.
Open and public meetings are real easy, and then you took the board one too on special service districts, both of them.
There was a second test that went on and on and on and on, and I'm about halfway through with that one.
That's the board. It's more complicated,
It's
but it's-
long.
Huh?
The meetings one was the long one, pretty simple, but certainly took longer.
Oh,
I-
and then I wanted to express my enthusiasm for seeing Chris at that meeting at the library that was the AMBER, stands for Association for Mission-Based Recycling. And basically what it was, and it was well received, there were 37 people there. And what it was is that we were able to Zoom with a couple of women that represented two recycle centers, one in Boulder, Colorado, and the other one somewhere in the Midwest, that deal with source separated. So they were in the business of selling their commodities. And this is what Chris has been talking with Kim with up there at the CRC, and learning how to best do that. And what the bottom line was from those two ladies is that recycling is not dead, it is not broken, but what's causing the complication in recycling is basically plastic, and that it just complicates everything. But basic recycling of cardboard, paper, aluminum, glass, and those sorts of things that we're all familiar with are well, and they, they're doing quite well. And then it seemed like there was another thing I wanted to refer Jessica, especially, and Chris, but there's an organization that I've become active in lately, and it's called the ILRSR. It's the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and they have a composting school, meaning they do a lot of workshops and things with backyard composting, and they just had a webinar on recyclable items that aren't really recyclable with regard to the in-vessel composter, like the one we just got the grant for. So there's some, I think I can find it and send it to you. It was a webinar that on that very same specific thing. So we have to learn about things that I guess you can and cannot put in those food composters, even though they do say they're recyclable. They're really not. And I don't know what kind of problem they cause, but we certainly want to learn about it before rather than after. And some bad news and then some good news. Bad news is won't be teaching the Recycle Rangers this session at the elementary school because the kids are too involved in soccer and all kinds of other things. But that's temporary. But the good news is it actually motivated me to make an appointment. I have an appointment tomorrow to talk to the principal of the school, Michelle,
Daryl,
Daryl, yeah, and so we're just gonna talk about, I know that recycling isn't gonna happen on a more permanent basis in any of the schools unless it comes down from the top, from the district. But I just was really curious to know how much she, and maybe if Libby attends, the vice principal, how much they understand, because their schools are unique in that they have not just single stream, but they have this after school program, so they know a little bit also, and that's what we're teaching the kids about source separated recycling. So it's going to be an interesting conversation to just see what they know and answer questions for them, and just put a bee in their bonnet about maybe someday we'll be able to have direction from the top about recycling in the whole district, and just stay tuned. That's it.
Thanks, Diane.
Hey, I really wanted to go, but I was dealing with plumbing issues.
Oh,
Well, that's always fun.
Yeah.
That makes so much fun.
AJ, what do you got?
Think I'm just happy to hear about improvements on AMCS. It sounds like it's been a long journey full of trials, but any wins that we can get to improve morale and sentiment, better engagement from the vendor, those are wins, and let's take them where we can get them. So, and then also I've completed my first check signing exercise, so it's under the belt.
Yeah,
I think I
thank
did
you.
good. If you find any mistakes, sorry.
I'll track you down.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she will.
Good night.
Okay, thank you. And it sure is nice to have more check signers.
Oh, makes it a lot easier.
Yep. So as Chris mentioned, I met with Chris and Kurt Thane and Levi to talk about the roll-offs, and I thought that Kurt and I had found the Holy Grail, and it turned into a big nothing burger, and what I learned is that all these sort of creative approaches and ideas, and these ideas that we've been coming up with, and I'm sure Chris is really tired of hearing all these new ideas, but they're just really kicking a can down the road, and and as that can continues down the road, we're just continually opening ourselves up to liability and exposure for when things do go wrong, and so it's going to be a really hard pill to swallow, but ultimately just bringing our systems up to a standard system is definitely seems like the direction we need to be heading. And then as a community member, last week I made multiple runs up to the Moab landfill, both with trash and big trailers full of trash, but then also woody debris for the composting program. And never made any mention of being on the board or anything. And I was, a couple things were really surprising to me. One was there was a massive discrepancy between what I was paying for these different, we were cleaning out somebody's property, and there was a huge discrepancy. I went up, I made 3 trips up, and each time I had an idea in my head of what I was going to be paying, and never was anywhere close. And we were very intentional and deliberate of filling a couple dump trailers just with woody debris to go up into the chipper program. And I was blown away by how much I was paying to put material into a pile that then was going to be generating revenue on the backside for the district. And I was fine with it. I understand the intent. I understand what's happening around here. But as if I was just a community member and I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes at the district, I would be a little bit put off, or maybe a lot put off, by paying $80 for a very well sorted dump trailer to go into a pile that then was going to be chipped. And so I don't know. I just want to put that out there and say it. I know that, Lily, you get calls about that all the time. I know that's, maybe it's all worth it because it got us Ashley. Yeah, it's definitely something to think about as we go down the road, and our you know, I love, I'm so psyched to hear just how, you know, things have just, this meeting has such a different tone when we talk about the finances and everything else. And so as we go down the road and we're trying to continue to build trust with our community, I think there are, you know, there are lots of ways that we can be looking at those trust building measures, and those may be some of them.
One time they had a weigher, and it wasn't such a weigh up at Moab landfill. Chris is still here, isn't he? But I'm wondering that might not even be worth trying to pursue anymore now that that's gonna close so soon, unless we could use that weigher someplace else. But whatever happened to that desire to vote? Well, doing CRB is so hard. I mean, to get the people to help us fill out the forms and
Sure.
but remember, Chris, we for a while talked about, so we
Yeah.
wouldn't have to do the gas, that people would drive in, their truck would be weighed, and then it would be consistent.
Yeah, there was the scales were on the CIB when I first started here. And I mean, I think that's really the answer to kind of what Colin's talking about is, you know, getting a consistency. But the problem with putting it up at the Moab landfill now, I mean, these scales are 150,000 plus each. And if you were to do it like kind of efficiently, you would want to weigh in and out. So there's two of them. So there's $300,000 for scales. And it's why I've kind of been pushing that if we can have everything routed through the transfer station, we can put scales at the transfer station, and then everything that goes to the district is weighed, and then we just self-haul it up to the Moab landfill itself. And you actually hit the exact thing that I wanted to do, Colin, is if as a member of the community, like, it shouldn't be a guessing game. You should know, wow, I'm going to take my truck up there and it's going to cost me $20, it's going to cost me $50, it's going to cost me $100. I mean, you don't have to be exact, but it sure would be nice if I was just a member of the community to be able to go up there and use these facilities and have some idea of what's going to happen once they're asking me for money. So I agree with you 100% there.
Those scales seemed like a good idea when we thought the landfill was gonna be open for a lot more years.
Yeah.
But if we got something, could they be transferred back down to the transfer station once the landfill was done? Or once they're stationed, are they stationed there forever?
I think trying to put them at the transfer station in the first place is a better approach, rather than trying to put them up there and then relocate them down here. If we just put them down here to start off with, you know, because ultimately that's the final goal, is to have everyone bring everything to the transfer station, and then we deal with it after the fact as we have. You know, this even goes to the thing of, I got a lead operator leaving, I got a facilities supervisor leaving. You know, I'm going to have to figure out how to do all these operations. Well, one way to do it is on our own time. So if all the materials ran through the transfer station, then I can dictate when I need to operate the other facilities, and they're at our leisure, rather than just opened up to the public versus, you know, public hours 8 to 4, 6 days a week. I mean, that could be the transfer station. Everything else is opened up when we need it.
And
So,
then I can understand at the transfer station that why weight would be the important measurement, because so much of this material is being transported. But at the Moab landfill, isn't volume a more important?
We pay the state by weight. So every quarter I have to pay the state by weight. So I take the volumes and I put it in a conversion factor.
Okay.
The problem with volumes is they're interpreted by the operator that's up there. So
Yeah.
one operator is going to measure your load one way, and another operator is going to measure your load another way. So they're kind of open to interpretation, where if it's going over a scale, there is no interpretation. It kind of is what it is.
Got it.
And the other thing is that things that weigh more have a tendency to be more dense, thus have less compaction. So we want people to pay more for those because they're taking up more airspace.
Got it.
If we're bringing everything to the transfer station here, I'm just thinking ahead in my own world. Are our rates gonna go up because you're moving those materials twice? Or are they gonna
Those
probably
materials
stay?
twice anyways.
Okay, so if we're bringing stuff here, the cost will probably be the same as in when we just dump it up there.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is still hypothetical. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I mean, we don't have the property next door. There's lots of hurdles to go through it before that happens. But I mean, the other thing is eventually it's going to close. So this is just something that's going to happen anyways. It's just whether we get to dictate the timing of it. So eventually everything's going to have to run through the transfer station. And I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah.
We can discuss it later. I was just curious if that's gonna impact our fees more. If people are bringing their stuff here, then we have to move it. If rates go up, was
So-
basic question.
Yeah, and if you look at it, sure, there's a little bit more involved, right? If you bring things here, I got to load it up. But I also have, at the same time, two guys that are sitting up there that 70% of the day, they're just sitting on their ass where, and I'm paying them, where if I can bring it here, I can go, okay, it looks like Thursdays is going to be our landfill day and we load everything up there. And then I got two operators that can go up there one day and be able to handle all the volumes.
I
One
like
of,
that answer.
one of the things about a transfer station in a general sense is it's allows for operational efficiencies. Instead of, all the route trucks driving all the way up to Klondike, what the transfer station allows is a central site for them to dump, and then it becomes, like Chris was saying, it's an efficiency matter of that volume going to a specific site. Because case of our transfer station there, you've got the MSW going out to Klondike, you've got the single stream recycling going up to Salt Lake. And then if this were to go into place, volumes that go to Moab would be transported from the transfer station to a Moab landfill. And like Chris said, in an efficient manner, it's a set volume that's combined, and then it gets up there on a periodic basis.
Got it. Thank you.
I guess, and if I may, Chris and I have been talking for months about simplifying the fee schedules at the landfill, and that, as Chris was saying, it is subjective, like how you measure a load. Obviously that hasn't been implemented yet, but yeah, we are aware of those discrepancies and how it comes across as inconsistencies to the community.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. So old business, we've got an action item, modify the date of the April board meeting. I think I would like to see that.
Or you could just give it to the vice chair to handle and take a month off.
I thought there were more.
That sounds
people
even
that-
better.
I mean, we could do that too, but I thought there were more people that would be affected. Aren't
Yeah,
you
I won't
affected?
be
Aren't
there.
you affected by
It's
spring break?
a week of spring break.
I'll be around still.
Yeah.
When is it?
How many other people are affected? Mike, is he gonna be affected? AJ, you're not?
No.
I just wasn't sure how many people were affected. I don't mind doing it, but I also don't mind moving it so that we can, everybody can be there. But we also have on the 11th, we have, no, the 10th. We
Yeah, the
have
week before that.
the workshop. So I almost think that we could do without a board meeting that month, since we already have the workshop.
Well, the one thing that the reason why we kept the board meeting is if anything comes up in the workshop and we're all agreeing upon it and we wanted to pass it, we don't need to even have a big board meeting. But I don't think, my understanding is you can't pass things in a workshop.
No, you can't.
No, but we could call like a special meeting for later in the month or something.
Could it wait until the May meeting, which would be? the
But
23rd?
I think what Chris is saying, what if something comes up in the, that we think, oh, this is timely, let's get it done.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, well, we could keep it on the calendar
Yep,
and then decide at the workshop if it needs to continue.
I think that's a great idea, Mary.
Just keep it on the calendar and then, if, at the workshop we say, oh, I think we've covered everything. And a lot of stuff we can do at the workshop that doesn't involve an action item. But a lot of the stuff like the reports, we could do the reports. We could, could do stuff like that that don't involve action item. But this is.
Okay.
I'm looking at this because I thought I had edited it, but at least in the agenda on here, it doesn't have action item for the surplus of district property. Thought I had changed that.
That's okay. I was gonna suggest we table that anyways. I got a list from Levi, but I think as I'm starting to move more stuff next door and we're starting to go things, it's not gonna hurt us to wait a month, because then I can just add more stuff to it. So we can table that if you want. However that needs to be done.
Postpone it. Yeah, make a motion to postpone it. Well, there's no need to have a motion because there isn't an action item.
Yeah, and we don't need any kind of vote because we're not changing the April board meeting, correct?
Correct.
Action item, okay. And then we're gonna table the new business. Okay, so on to future considerations. The April meeting scheduled. Okay, yep, good to go. Okay, with that, I guess, we can entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session?
I'll second.
Okay, show of hands. Okay, and so for this closed session, we're gonna ask that all staff, leaves the meeting, except for Nick is gonna stick around.